Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there, feeling fantastic, having a great start to your weekend. Got you an update on what's going to happen weather-wise for your Saturday. We'll even discuss a lot on the entire weekend towards the second half of the video, but really, as always, the big focus will be on for today. The Midwest, we're expecting some severe weather, the same energy, the same storm complex that caused all the severe weather, all the tornadoes in areas of the northern plains, which it certainly did materialize. I'm very surprised we didn't get a bump up to a 5% to a 10% risk of tornadoes, because we had multiple tornadoes, some at which were very damaging and some was very, very photogenic, and some both. So, I did wake up to see a lot of pictures of damage in some of those small towns out there. Wyoming was a state that was hit hard, not only in eastern Wyoming, but areas further west too in the state, and then had tornadoes in Colorado. So it was very active. There was a lot of storm chasers on it. I'm sure a lot of people were tuning into that. But certainly hoping the recovery efforts are going well today. Praying for you folks out there that was impacted, for the folks that were. But we're expecting some severe weather across the Midwest today, and then tomorrow this will leak into areas of the Ohio Valley, the Mid-South, and then the next day, which would be Monday, expecting some severe weather in the southeast areas of the Mid-Atlantic. But we'll talk about it as we come. We'll give you a big update tonight on what can happen tomorrow, which I'm expecting an enhanced risk to get issued for maybe in the next few outlooks or something. But speaking of the outlooks, I want to remind you guys, things could change from when I make this video. On the next update, we could have an upgrade even for today. So you guys always know a lot of times I like to upgrade things right after I drop these videos. That could happen. Another thing I want to mention, if you see any cats in the background, we're finally letting our new kitten that we got last week kind of loose throughout the house. So the other two cats we have, it's checking them out. His name's Rocket. And there could be some meowing in the background, but they seem to be getting along pretty well. But I got the door wide open to my right, so cats might come in and out. But you guys know the deal here on this channel. So with that being said, if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. Appreciate the amazing support. June is on track to be more successful as far as views, pretty much growth in general than May was, which is something I totally didn't expect, but it's been so active, and here we are. So thank y'all for the support. If you guys got anything that I can pray for or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below so I can do that, and so others can do so too. Let's check out water vapor loop. I don't have my cursor up, but I don't think we really need it this morning. But if you see this little spin right here, this is our upper level low. We have an associated surface low, which is somewhere right into here, give or take some mileage, but this will be what really drives and really initiates more convection layer this afternoon and this evening. We already got a lot of storm activity this morning in areas of Minnesota, Iowa. This will eventually clear out, and then the atmosphere will try to destabilize again, and then we'll get the initiation of more strong to severe storms that could produce tornadoes, damaging wind, and large hail threat. And then we're going to watch for a few storms that could pop up in Texas today, maybe Louisiana, and just more widespread downpours and showers, and maybe a storm or two that could produce some lightning, small hail up here in areas of the Northeast. Let's take a look at what actually is falling at the surface. And we just dropped this severe thunderstorm warning, and we're getting a little bit of glitching ongoing right now, but let's see if we can stop this. Let's see, stop it right here, and let's get it back going here. See if it'll, yeah, okay. So the glitch is gone. We're waking up to a lot of rain in southern New England. Some storms off the coast of the Carolinas, off the coast of the Gulf coastline. But you can see this spin in Montana. This is the upper level low. You got some moderate to heavy rain surrounding it, and there's a surface low right into here. So we'll continue to kind of drift northeast or northward. And then eventually it might, drift a little bit further back east and then affect areas of the Mid-South. In fact, it will, with severe weather as we get into tomorrow. But watching a lot of storm activity into Minnesota, Iowa. It's very active this morning, and will get active again later this afternoon, this evening. But you're dealing with morning storms already that are strong, even have been severe at some point this morning. You look at the Storm Prediction Center outlook, a pretty large slight risk, which extends just south of Minneapolis, all the way down to like Columbia, Missouri, all the way down to St. Louis. And everybody in between, Des Moines, Peoria, Springfield, Illinois, So a lot of people under the gun. This area has not seen a lot of active severe weather in a couple months. You know, we all look back to what happened, I would say about 2 months ago when we had that crazy severe weather outbreak, but expecting severe weather today, nothing compared to that. But it could get a little dicey in this area, especially in Iowa, where there is a 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in any given location. This does extend northward into areas of southern Minnesota, and then southward into areas of northeast Missouri, very small section of Illinois. This could extend, this could shrink, broaden, whatever. We'll have to see what happens in the later updates here, see if anything upgrades. But wind risk today, just a broad, large region that includes the entire slight risk, level 2 out of 5. You got a 15% risk of winds exceeding 50 knots or higher. That's around 55 to 60 miles per hour. And mile per hour readings. Hail threat. Not only do you have the 15% risk of 1 inch in diameter or larger hail, you also have the hatch risk of significant hail, which is in the black outline region right into here. That means you have a 10% risk of significant hail, which the Storm Prediction Center considers that 2 inch in diameter or larger hail. That's when you start to get maybe some dents in your hood, maybe a crack in your windshield, and if it hits you on your head, you might get a bit of a headache. So, please watch out for some big time hail today. And just because there's a 5% risk of a tornado, please don't discount this tornado threat. There was only a 5% risk of a tornado westward here in areas of Wyoming, Nebraska, Colorado, and you saw how many tornadoes we got. So the 5% risk have certainly been verified, including the day before too, where the town in Texas got hit, or either that was the day before that. But either way, take the 5% risk serious, guys. The excessive rainfall outlook, you could get a lot of, you're already getting a lot of rain, but you could get a lot of rain today here in areas of Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota, eastern sections of those states. So watch out. You got a slight risk of flash flooding, which means there's at least a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being met in this area. You look at watches, warnings, advisories. You can tell the heat advisories are being extended a bit northeast. I mean, you got heat advisories as far northeast as the southern sections of the Boot Heel, Missouri, all the way into western areas of Tennessee and all of western Mississippi just about. So it's going to be quite hot. The humidity's building back in. It never really left us. It's really the air temperatures that kind of drop somewhat. But with the humidity already in place, higher dew points, and also higher actual surface temperatures, it's going to be hot. Okay, that's why you got heat advisories. Excessive heat watches in and around the Houston area and just points north and west. Excessive heat warnings in this purple area right here where it's going to be blistering hot. It's a bit of a dry heat. It is a dry heat in West Texas, but I mean 110 degrees is 110 degrees. So, you know, be careful. You guys have already been dealing with it. You're already, you know, I would say probably some folks are used to it out here at this point. But it still doesn't make it any better. So flood watches up here in Montana, where you guys are getting rain as I speak right now. You got the severe thunderstorm watch that's current right now, but we'll expect this to be extended or dropped and then re-added later today. Let's talk about the Southeast. We're going to go on a cruise through certain areas that we spend normally a lot of time on, especially over the last couple weeks, but it's not going to be very active in the Southeast. It'll be a nice summer Saturday for late June standards. Not going to be super hot unless you move westward into Mississippi, Louisiana, but you know, the immediate southeast corridor, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, the Carolinas, typical kind of late June summer day. It's going to be nice. You can get out there in the pool. Hopefully it'll warm up pretty good today from being so cool throughout the week, but we'll go throughout the morning. Not a whole lot's going on. And then we'll get to just after lunchtime, where around 2 to 3 p.m., you could get some storms around the Lake Charles area, points south, some storms in the bayou of Louisiana are possible. You're getting some storm development in north central areas of Virginia. Some pop-up downpours are possible into North Carolina, even down to South Carolina. But I do think Florida is going to be quite rainy today, especially the southern tip of the peninsula of Florida. It's going to be quite rainy, you know, and we're going to get some storms that pop up, you know, pop off some outflow boundaries, and then those outflow boundaries pop off more storms. And it's going to be quite stormy across, especially the southern half of Florida. But the east coast of Florida, pretty much everybody stands a pretty decent chance to see showers and storms throughout the afternoon and evening. So if you're vacationing down here, go on and expect at least a chance throughout the afternoon and the overnight period. So we keep rolling here. These pop-up showers and storms that really pop off daytime heating instability fizzle out, and then we get into the overnight hours, and we'll watch a lingering, I believe this is probably the leftover energy from what's happening right now in Iowa. So that's probably going to drift into Kentucky. So we could have a stormy start to what's already going to be a stormy day in like southern Illinois, western Kentucky, maybe even areas of Tennessee for tomorrow morning. So we'll watch this complex of storms. The Northeast already dealing with rain. We will continue to deal with rain throughout the day. I think as we get into the afternoon and evening hours for the Northeast, especially southern New England, the more consolidated, more consistent rain will probably leave, and then it'll probably shift northward where you'll get just kind of downpours, scattered downpours, maybe even some small hail with this as possible. A little bit more cold air aloft is possible here. Well, it is here in New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, and then the flow will kind of shift as this low that's kind of in place up here. You'll get a flow, and this kind of happened in the southeast yesterday. The winds kind of shift, and then you get some of these pop-up showers and storms that kind of begin to flow in, more so from the west to the east, and pretty much anywhere along in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic stands a good chance to, well, not a good chance, but everybody has an equal chance to see some sort of isolated shower or storm. I'm just not expecting these to be severe by any means, but all them states already mentioned, southern New England, New York State, Pennsylvania, I mean, all the way down into West Virginia. You could have some pop-up downpours today, but I don't think it's going to be a washout in some of these areas, except if you're in Maine or New Hampshire, Vermont, where I think you're just going to be dealing with the rain all day. So we get into the overnight hours, we finally lose this low, and I think Sunday might be a little bit better of a day here in the Northeast, but you're going to be dealing with numerous showers and storms up here in the Northeast today. So you get into the south central U.S., quiet day compared to what you've seen, but you get into this afternoon, you're getting in late to this afternoon, the big country down here of Texas, the hill country of Texas, you could have some showers and storms to get going. Then you watch right out here in west central Texas, a powerful storm or two, maybe three, could get going. These could produce large hail. It's going to be very isolated, but if you live in this region of Texas, right in here, kind of east of Odessa, in this region, Fort Stockton, maybe points north, an isolated strong to severe storm is possible today. They could produce large hail. The flow is very weak aloft because you're under this ridge, so a tornado threat's not going to really be on the table, but you never know. But an isolated damaging wind gust, large hail is possible with these storms. So please watch these today. But really the big story, it's not really a new story, but it continues to be very, very just aggravating out here for you folks, I'm sure, is the hot temperatures. Temperatures well into the hundreds into central and western Texas. You know, Lubbock, Odessa, Fort Stockton, you guys well over 100 degrees by the time you get to noontime. It's a dry heat out here once you get into eastern Texas and then all the other Mississippi Valley states. This is a humid heat, so it could be at the 95 degrees, but the heat index is equivalent to the temperatures you're experiencing, say, in New Mexico and western Texas. So it's very hot. It's a very, very humid. And in fact, you know, you look at the heat index for the day, and we'll get to the hottest portion of the day. And as you can tell, the heat index is actually lower than the actual air temperature out west because it's a dry heat. But look at the heat index for Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, Shreveport, Little Rock, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, well over 100 degrees. So that's the feel-like temperature. So this tells us there's a moist air mass building in ahead of the surface low that's building in into that's beginning to shift and kind of round the upper portion of this ridge as it gets into Sunday. So the north central U.S., which it does include our severe weather threat here in the Midwest, here comes that surface low right in here. You're dealing with these showers and storms this morning. The HRRR model's lagging a little bit with these showers and storms. It's a little bit ahead of schedule, which might not be good news because it means it's going to clear this area that's going to become unstable in this region today. But the surface low is in this position. And here you go. Boom. Explosion of showers and storms from basically Minneapolis points south. Some of these can be severe in southern Minnesota. Iowa, they certainly will be strong to severe, and we continue to move forward here, and they begin to enter areas of Wisconsin later this evening, and I think Illinois will more so be a threat overnight tonight. Late this evening after the sun goes down, these storms blast through. Now, of course, here comes the low, the surface low beginning to take that trip back southeast. we're getting into Sunday morning. This is going to set the stage for severe weather down here. Notice it looks like it's going to head out, right? You know, it kind of goes back into North Dakota, and then here it goes. It's heading back kind of southeast or eastward. This is going to ignite storms down here. But we're not going to get into tomorrow yet. But a closer look at Iowa, dealing with these storms this morning. But as we get into this afternoon, 2, 3, 4 o'clock this afternoon, Des Moines, Ames, everybody in Iowa, watch out for a tornado threat. I would watch for these storms really to be dominant here in northern Iowa. Could be wrong. This is just model guidance. Well, watch out on all the southern end of these storms. Wherever the storms form, watch out on the southern end of them. That's where they kind of latch on to the best environment. They'll be spinning like crazy, and they'll have a chance to produce a tornado. So please be careful here in central Iowa, even northern Iowa, even southern areas for extreme southern Minnesota for these tornado threat. And these continue to move through. At this point, we're getting into 6, 7 o'clock in the afternoon, and they begin to clear out of Iowa and start to really dominate really extreme southern Wisconsin and Illinois, maybe even down into Missouri. And, speaking of Missouri, St. Louis region, Illinois, we'll back it up here. We'll get into this afternoon. Even though you don't see any storm development in northern Missouri, that does not mean that's not going to happen. There could just as well be storm coverage in northern Missouri. So if you're in a northern Missouri community or small town, please don't let your guard down, because you just as well could be storms down here. It's just the model's not picking up on it. But, be careful as you get into St. Louis. Let's go on and switch it to this, because tonight there will be a threat of severe weather too. This is right in the middle of the night, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. You're dealing with some storms in Chicago. This is when you can get some rain in Illinois. Overnight tonight more so. Not today, but more so tonight. But fortunately and unfortunately. Unfortunately, meaning that I don't think you're going to get a robust amount of convection rain if this happens overnight, which it is. The fortunate thing is I think your severe weather threat is going to be dropped, because the main energy moves in overnight, which of course you lack your daytime heating and instability. But I think a good chunk of Missouri, some people are going to Illinois, some people are going to completely whiff on the rain, but I think a good chunk of Illinois is going to see some rain. And like I said, you're going to get some showers and storms probably sometime tonight into St. Louis, etc. And then these begin to get into our Sunday time frame, which that becomes a storyline. But, you go on and switch it to the updraft Felicity swath. I do think you're going to have that tornado threat. It really pinpoints it right in the middle of Iowa, which makes sense. You go back to the Storm Prediction Center, you got that 5% risk right into here. Okay, so it matches up with this updraft Felicity swath pretty well. Okay, so let's watch out for this. But you go back into this, and I want to show you guys, like I said, the tornado threat not as high down here, but you can't rule it out. You see some numbers popping up showing maybe some rotation with some of these storms. But I do want to show you guys, I know there's a lot of people interested in how much rain can fall from this, because I've heard a lot of people from Illinois talk about how they need rain. This is the National Weather Service between now and Sunday morning. So, you show little squirts of rain in Illinois, but not a whole lot. We'll take it all the way through Monday morning. I really think northern Illinois will have the best chance to see rain, but you got some dry pockets here. But this isn't rocket science. This isn't exact conclusions, guys. Remember that. This could change, but it's not showing a goalie washer of a rain event by any means with this. Okay, but we'll watch for patterns after this. But moving to the Rockies, the only thing you're going to be dealing with is this lingering convection that could get going off this upper level low. That's really the driver of this energy that keeps on firing off of it up here in Montana. So as you get into this afternoon, this evening, more chances of showers and storms pop up, especially in southern Montana, even northern Wyoming. But the severe weather threat with this is going to be low, but you're certainly going to be dealing with it throughout Montana, especially southern to central Montana. You could have some shower and storm activity also possible in eastern Oregon, and especially north to east Oregon. So, go on and expect that if you're doing any outdoor activities in that region of the country. And then some showers are possible even into northern, especially northeast Nevada. So we'll watch out for that later today. And then we're getting into tomorrow morning, and not a whole lot's going on except maybe some showers in Idaho. Temperatures today, Very hot in Texas, well into the 100s. H4R model wants to have areas hitting over 110 degrees. But you notice you work your way eastward in the deep south. You start to go from the 90s in Mississippi to just some scattered 90s, but mostly 80s. One half of Tennessee, the western half of Tennessee, is much hotter than the eastern half of Tennessee. If you're going to the mountains this weekend or today, it's going to be pretty pleasant for late June standards. The Northeast, just 70s and 80s, 60s in some of the higher terrain. But you're going to be dealing with some of the clouds and some isolated showers and storms, things like that. And then it's going to be very hot all the way into Iowa, Illinois, Michigan, where big-time daytime heating and instability will build ahead of these storms expected. The Dakotas are much cooler today, only 60s and 70s for highs. And then you go out west, and it continues to be just slightly below average out here. And, it's just one of those things out west where you got to know where you live, because one person could be sitting 8,000 feet up in the air. The next person could be in a valley 4 miles away. So that makes a huge difference, right? It's totally a different world out west. But in general, below average temperatures for everybody for your expected area. So we look at it. We'll give you an update on the tropics. We got Cindy, which is a 60-mile-per-hour storm, 1,001 millibar low-pressure storm. So, she continues to kind of just move. Both systems don't look that great. Tropical Storm Brett continues to try to fight for its life, and I'll show you what I mean here in a second. But it's a 45-mile-per-hour storm, 1,005 millibar low pressure, but it's getting blasted by shear. But he's putting up the fight of his life right now. And you look at the projection of Brett, most of the worst weather is on the northern side, which is good because it was on the southern side. It might be affecting some of these communities and far northern South America, but it's not. Still expected to maintain tropical storm status through most of the day, but eventually, once it gets deep into the central Caribbean, it's basically expected to dissipate by tomorrow. But we'll see what happens. And we take a look at Brett, and this is it. This is the center of circulation. It's being very affected now, but you still got explosive convection firing up. It is trying. It's fighting against pretty stout shear out there, like 30 to 40 knots of shear out the west. It's being blasted here. Every time convection explodes, it gets blasted, gets sheared away, and then more will form. So he's fighting, but his fight is inevitably not going to make it, because there's not a 99% chance that this is going to get dissipated into nothing. You look at Cindy. Cindy is something I want to watch as we get into next week, especially for Bermuda. Could bring a lot of shower and storm gusty wind activity. We'll watch. But Cindy, very small wind field that you can see right here, expected to maintain tropical storm status all the way through early to midway next week. We'll watch how the currents go, the atmospheric currents, not the ocean currents, how the atmospheric currents kind of rock and roll up there, because you could have some ridging that might pull this closer to the northeast, maybe Canada, Nova Scotia, places like that. We'll watch. Or we could have some troughing that yanks this back out into the North Atlantic and dissipates it into nothing. The GFS flirts with that idea. GFS likes this becoming a hurricane sometime right as it's getting close to Bermuda, but the European completely dissipates Cindy. So we'll watch Cindy. This is what she looks like. This is the center of circulation right here. You got huge area mid-level convection that's displaced to the north. So she is looking rough. She's not doing that great. You can see the shear coming up here from these kind of high top streaming clouds right into here. Interesting little spin here. This is pretty cool. You can see a little spin popping off convection, but this is not really tropical in nature. But anyways, focusing in on Cindy, she's doing all right. Technically still a 60-mile-per-hour storm, but is not well put together at all. We'll see if she tries to look a little bit better throughout the day today, but regardless, not affecting anybody. I'm not hearing any reports of any kind of catastrophic damage in the Lesser Antilles or anything like that. If you guys know anybody on the Lesser Antilles, let me know what they're saying. But I'm not hearing anything too bad on what happened a couple days ago with the Lesser Antilles Thursday and the Friday. Storm Prediction Center for tomorrow, guys. We got to watch out for tomorrow. I really think tomorrow will get upgraded to an enhanced risk. As of now, you got a pretty large slight risk that I definitely think gets extended further north into Michigan and then extended a little bit deeper into Ohio. We'll see what happens. But we got to watch to see what the morning convection does, but a slight risk level 2 out of 5, which includes everybody you see on here. Tornado threat, 5% risk of a tornado, basically from just north of Nashville all the way up to almost to Cincinnati, includes Louisville. A 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in any given location. So there's going to be a tornado threat with this, guys. The wind threat, this is going to increase. I mean, I really think it is. I think that with a stout mid-level flow, you're going to get an increased wind threat with this. At minimum, you'll get a bump up to a hatched risk of winds. You got a 15% risk of winds exceeding 50 knots or higher. That's 55 to 60 miles per hour in this entire slight region. I'm almost 100% confident this will increase somewhat. Hail threat, 15% risk of hail, but also a 10% risk of significant hail in this region right here, which is basically the same area that the higher tornado threat's in. But that means you have a 10% risk of hail exceeding 2-inch in diameter or larger. But I really think Sunday's going to be a big deal for this area. And you look at this as the mid-level jet, winds several thousand feet up in the atmosphere here. You see this mid-level jet, how it begins to nose into areas of the Ohio Valley, the Mid-South. And you see it here. It's its strongest tomorrow about early mid-afternoon. You got a 70 to 80 knot mid-level jet blasting through northern Missouri, areas of Illinois. It's probably going to make for some very windy conditions as winds mix to the surface. But as this nose of wind, this wind profile aloft moves into this region, you're probably going to have enhanced Cape storm energy in the atmosphere here. So basically, to really narrow down what I'm trying to say is, you see these kind of buckles in these lines. That tells me that you're about to have 22Z, which is around late afternoon, early evening. You're about to have explosive thunderstorms, probably anywhere from Arkansas all the way up through this entire region right here as we near the late afternoon hours, early evening hours. So as you keep going, explosive Cape is already built into this region, and I think you're going to have an intense line of storms that develops right into here that's going to produce damaging winds, large hail, and a tornado threat embedded with this. If we get any kind of supercells or this quickly develop in what we call a wind bag, which is basically a big-time damaging wind threat. But the thing that I'm worried about is I think that this probably does not get going until late afternoon, evening, and it could be its most intense right as the sun's going down. So I think we're going to have some pretty bad storms tomorrow night. But you got a very good for severe weather kinematics. Okay, the wind profile aloft, you have definitely a big time a mid-level jet streaking across this entire region. This is enhanced kinematics, which is the wind energy you need for wind damage, forcing in the atmosphere, and a tornado threat. But you look at the Cape levels, here comes that mid-level jet. Cape is next to 0 in this region as more stable air moves in with a associated surface cold front basically moving in with this system. But look at the Cape that builds in ahead of this. Okay, Cape building, we'll take it all the way. Cape building to well over 3,000, 3,500 joules per kilogram. I'll argue it'll be more than this. So you're going to have a disruptive area of storms that forms along this gradient of Cape. And you can already see it forming in Arkansas as it's eating up all this moisture. You see these weird little bubbles. That's storms that are forming. So you're going to have a lot of fuel to the atmosphere here. Once these storms get going, this eats up all that Cape. But a look at what the HRRR model is symbolizing for this event for tomorrow. It's doing its best guess. I can already tell some strong storms are going to be possible here in southern areas of Michigan, but you might be lacking thermodynamics, just ingredients in general for big time storms. But I do think you're going to have a damaging wind threat and a hail threat up here. Just in general, just some stormy conditions up in southern Michigan for sure tomorrow. But you're starting to get into the 4 p.m., 5 p.m. explosive storms getting going in Missouri. And I'm not trying to gyp you guys, in Arkansas. Gyp you guys in Arkansas. I'm going to talk in Arkansas. In fact, we'll show you guys Arkansas here in a second. But what I want you to show you here is as we get into like 7, 8 p.m., area of storms begins to get going here in eastern Ohio. These could be intense. Tornado threat with this. And then look at how these storms explode right in here into Kentucky, almost just like at an instance. And it's like 9, 10 p.m. at this point. The sun is pretty much fully set, and you got an intense area of line of storms kind of sweeping through areas of Kentucky. This is likely to form earlier, probably into this region, but bad storms sweeping through Ohio, Kentucky, southern sections of Indiana, Tennessee. This could be an intense line of storms that really moves through. So please be aware of this. We'll take a look at Arkansas too. We'll back this up, even though this is going to change. So just remember this. But, it shows the explosiveness of these storms. And I really think a slight risk will get extended further into northern Arkansas. As of right now, you do have a little bit of a slight risk extended into far northeast Arkansas. But if the HRRR model is correct, you're going to get some pretty intense storms in the state of Arkansas that really gets going in the northern half of the state. Damaging wind threat, large hail threat will be the biggest threat here. Can the tornado threat, probably not as high because the surface low with the associated kinematics needed for a tornado threat will probably be further north, but you got to watch. Large hail, watch out Memphis, Tennessee. Right at dinner time tomorrow night, 6, 7 p.m., these could be some nasty storms blasting through. And not to ignore you guys in the deep south, but you're going to have a severe weather threat for tomorrow also. Alabama, northern Mississippi, later in the evening, you could have some intense storms, as you can tell, down here in Alabama, the deep south region. We'll discuss all of this in detail tonight, and then do it again tomorrow morning. But we got to watch, guys. We got to watch this. You look at you go back, let's see. You go back and look at the updraft velocity swath for this potential tornado threat. And it really enhances after the overnight hours in Ohio and Kentucky. So that's the worry for tomorrow, is this really doesn't get popping off until after the sun sets, nighttime. But you get into Monday, we're going to have a severe weather threat for Monday too. I don't think it's going to be as bad as tomorrow, but we'll see. But we'll watch this, guys, and we'll give you an update on this as we know. I know I got a lot more people to view from this area as I start off here in the Carolinas. But I promise you guys we'll get much more updated on Monday here in the next video or two. God bless all y'all. Have a great day. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon.